So I just want to show you guys what I've done with my sweet peas. I've been pinching these back, some of them I haven't quite. I like to make sure there's two nice sets of leaves before I pinch them. This one I might wait one more set. I don't know. We'll see. When it feels right, I do it. Anyway, the majority of this tray is pinched back. There's a few that haven't been. And most of these are pinched. And what I did is I actually took cuttings from those clippings and dipped them in a little bit of rooting hormone. I had a humidity dome over them for a few days just to make sure that they weren't wilting. This is their first day under lights, so I'm going to watch them closely and make sure if there's any wilting, I'll put the humidity dome back on. And some of them have even started growing in just like maybe, I think it's been like 4 days. So some of the seeds, like I see Earl Grey sticking out there in the middle. I only had like 4 seeds of that, so this is a good way to multiply your sweet peas and a lot of things. Actually, you can actually take cuttings from a lot of things. If you're low on seeds. So I'm going to be trying to do quite a bit of sweet pea seed saving this year, but we'll see how that goes. But I just wanted to show you guys, if you're at this stage with your sweet peas and needing to pinch them, that you can actually take cuttings and root them. I think you guys can see here where the sweet peas are already starting to branch at their leaf nodes here. So they're looking good. Okay guys, we've got our sweet peas here. So these 4 cell packs here, I think I did like 4 or 5 days ago. These 2 I did a couple days ago. These have all been clipped. My toilet paper tube sweet peas have all been clipped except for one, I think, and another one that isn't quite large enough yet. And then there's a couple in my root trainers here. There's just a couple that need to be done. So I'm not going to start another cell here. I don't have 9. So I'm just going to double some of these up. I did that already with a couple. There's 2 in this one. There's 2 in this one. When I knew I wasn't going to need a whole nother tray. I think they'll be fine. I've done 2 seeds in all of my root trainers and stuff, and we're going to try it that way. I have seen differing information in how to take sweet pea cuttings. So I think this one will be easy to show you on. These are disgusting, by the way, but look at the roots. They're growing really well, but I hate these toilet paper tubes. So the way I've done all of these is I'm cutting above a leaf node. So the leaf node is where the leaf joins the stem here. So I'm cutting like about right here, and I'm having only stem going into the soil. I have seen some people, when they take their cuttings, they'll include a leaf node and go down to the next leaf node so that one of these at least is buried in the soil and roots will come from the leaf node. I have seen other people do it the way I'm doing it. I think probably you're enhancing your chance of success by including one of these nodes below the soil for roots to develop. But in order for me to do that, I need to let these grow longer, and I don't have the height space under my lights. So I'm trying it this year, and this is the first year I've tried it, so I'll share my success or my failure with you guys so that we know how to do it the same or differently for next year. I'm just telling you how I've done it and what I'm doing. So I'm gonna put him back. And he's actually the only one that I need to take a cutting for. So again, I'm doing sweet peas and snapdragons today, and I don't know which you're going to see first, but I'm going to make sure, I think you can see on this one I sampled already, or I took cuttings already. I'm gonna make sure I leave 2 sets of leaves. So here's my first set, here's my second set. I just wanna make sure there's enough places, and these are actually growth points here as well. Like these are just starting to send out shoots since I removed the top, but it's only been, I think I probably did most of these. These actually, this is a good time to update you. I'm finding these are a few days behind the root trainers, and I'm a little bit happy about that only because these are gross. I don't think they're super healthy to be breathing in the spores that are developing on the outside of the tubes, and I don't have an outdoor greenhouse. If you have an outside space or a garage or something where you're not living in amongst this stuff, then it's probably fine. But I'm not enjoying this process. So I think next year root trainers will be it for me. But my point was, these seem to be a few days behind the root trainers. And if I had another point, I've lost it, and I'm sorry. So I'm going to go ahead. This is a Spencer Giant. Oh, that's what I was going to show you. So the development is just starting on some of these, and I'm going to show you on the root trainers here. I think this was one that I sampled. I hope you can see that. I think this was one that I sampled like 4 days ago, not 2 days ago. And you can see already how much side branching growth we have going on here. And there's also little ones starting down here too. So I think pinching your sweet peas is probably a good idea, whether you use those pinched cuttings to actually root and multiply your plants or not. I do think you get more blooms by pinching, but I digress. So this is Spencer Giant Mix that I have here. So I'm just going to, this is gonna fall because I don't have 3 hands, but I'm just gonna show you that I'm cutting down close to that leaf margin, and I'm snipping it, and I'm gonna find where he went here. Of course, he went down into the gross tubes. I'm going to find a little cell here that is Spencer Giant. There's one right here. I'm gonna make a little hole in the soil for him, and I'm gonna take my rooting hormone. I can't remember if I told you or not why I put it in this little tube. One, I find it easier to just get a little amount. It's hard to see in a black bottle how deeply you're putting your stem into the rooting hormone. And the other reason, I just lost where, oh, he's right here. The other reason is I don't like to contaminate my big bottle. This is just a small amount. So if anything bad happens, it's just a little jar, and I don't have to worry about needing to replace a whole bottle. I like to keep this as sterile and keep it closed. I also feel like, you know, there's, I don't know exactly what rooting hormone is. Well, it's a hormone, I guess, but I feel like as little exposure to light and air as possible will keep it active for longer. I don't know if that's true, but that's just my thoughts. So I like to do the small amounts. Yeah, so that's my process. So I just stuck him in here with his little friend. And these guys, I wasn't as concerned about removing as much leaf material as I was with the snaps. These guys are a little more rigid, and I've kept a humidity dome on them, and I will replace the humidity dome as soon as I take these back downstairs. I think it's a good idea to leave the humidity dome on for at least a week or until you start to see new growth, which I'm not entirely sure, but I feel like some of these guys have grown. Like, I don't think they were this tall when I put some of them in there, but we'll be able to tell in a few days anyway. And in a few days, I think it's still too early to start digging around and checking for roots, but in a couple days I might sacrifice one and just pull it up and see if there has been any root development. So I have a couple more to go here. Which ones are these now? These are my Enchanté. So I think they both are. I think there's only two that need clipped. And I'm gonna find some Enchanté. So these are some right here. I'm gonna get my rooting hormone. I'm gonna poke my little holes. I'm gonna put one right there and one right there. So these stems, I try to get a little deeper than the snapdragons because they don't have hairs on their stem, so they don't hold on to the hormone as well as the snapdragons do. So I'm making sure to roll it around pretty good there. And where did I put my other hole? Right there. So that is it for my sweet peas. And enjoy the snapdragon footage if you haven't already seen that. Thank you for watching. Okay, so here are my beautiful snapdragons. They're doing awesome. Some of the varieties, I don't know if you can tell, some of the varieties are a little taller than others. And of course, the one I want to take cuttings of the most, which is the Potomac Lavender, is the shortest. But I think there's quite a few in here that are big enough for me to take cuttings now. So I'm going to just kind of angle this and see if you guys can see this. Here is one of my little seedlings. So there's a set of leaves down here. There's a set of leaves here, and I'm going to cut just above that set of leaves. I like to leave at least two. And this guy's maybe a little shorter than I would like this guy's a little better, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut him anyway, just because I want to get as many done today as I can so that they're all rooting and starting. And yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But I wanted to show off my Bells of Ireland too. I don't know if you watch Flower Hill Farm, which if you're not, you should be watching. She's awesome. Hilarious, entertaining, and full of useful information. And these larger bells are all that I have out of the 40 that I seeded into soil blocks, stratified. I then stratified them in the cold for a week or two. And this is all that germinated, like 9 out of 40. These are all fresh seedlings, and I just planted a couple more that had sprouted today, so you don't see those yet. But Nicole at Flower Hill Farm said that she learned to put them in paper towel in a baggie. I believe she stratified hers in the fridge. I didn't even bother. I just threw them straight onto a heat mat, and 2 days later, tons had cracked open and there were little roots starting to form. So I've just been checking like every day, every other day. And when there's a few that need to be potted up, like I did, like a dozen or so this morning, then I just pot those up. And in a couple days, they'll look like these guys. So I'm never doing bells the other way. I just thought you guys should know that if you hadn't seen that video. So make sure that you can see what I'm doing. So let's get to our cuttings. So this is bone dry because I filled this tray all at once, but I'm gonna water it right after, so I'm not too concerned. I do have some rooting hormone that I have put in just this little tube that seeds came in. 1 second and I'll show you. So this is the rooting hormone that I have. I've used the one in the white bottle with the red cap before. I think it's all pretty much the same. It's just powdered rooting hormone. There are different grades depending on what you're rooting. Like if I was trying to root seeds, this would not be strong enough. This is a 0.1% IBA and they come in different percentages. But for your standard like herbaceous type plants, this is okay. So I might try actually, you don't actually need the rooting hormone to do these, but I might try some with and some without just to see if we do a difference. So I'll do a row without and then I'll do a row with and we'll mark it and then we'll be able to see. So I'm just gonna poke some holes so that I don't damage my roots or my stems when I stick them in here. And they'll get watered in really well. And the soil will be settled around them, so it's okay. Before we get going, I have one more thing to show you. So I told you guys we went to Moncton last weekend for Jarrett's birthday. There is a nursery there called MacArthur's. Whenever I'm in Moncton, it's always like a place I want to hit up. They have an entire wall of seeds. It's heaven if you are a gardener. So, you know, I have tons of seeds, but of course I did find a few things that I didn't have and that were cool and that I needed and felt like I needed in my life. So the first is Irish moss seeds. How cool is that? So I'm gonna try those. I've never tried growing anything like that. I'm sure it is going to be super painful and very slow, but I'll do a little bit of research first before I plant them and see you know, what the best way to go about that is. Then, of course, I found a couple of pumpkins because, you know, I don't have space for the ones I have already, but I'm obsessed. So I got this one. It's called a peanut pumpkin, and it's kind of a pink pumpkin with peanut-like warty things that grow on the outside of the skin. Very pretty. I can't wait to grow some of these. I don't know exactly which ones I'm gonna grow yet, but. And then I found one that is a blue doll pumpkin, which also looks super cool. I love the shape of it. It's got, you know, it looks like they're fairly deep ribs. And the only other bluish pumpkin I have is Jardale, which I think is, I don't think it's quite this shape and, you know, I need them all. Then I found, I've never seen sunset runner beans before. And, you know, I did a little Google and I think they're very similar to scarlet runner, just that the flowers are kind of peachy and pink. So I thought those would be pretty to mix in with the scarlet runners, but. And I've also never seen this seed company before. So they had some interesting things. I also have a story to tell you. So we were with Jarrett's family and they're not huge gardeners. Like they, you know, they'll plant baskets and have hostas around the yard and stuff like that. But, you know, they've been seeing me get more and more into gardening over the last few years. And when we were in the garden center and the wall of seeds was there, the questions started. And I have never been more attracted to Jarrett in my entire life than when he started answering some of the garden questions. I didn't think he was listening to me all these years. he knows a lot. It was really cool, guys. So, you know, you think they're zoning out, but sometimes they're listening. It was a very cool experience. So anyway, just had to tell you that. Now let's get on to what you're here for. So I might, one more second, I'm gonna get some paper to put between my sections. Okay, I've just folded up some notebook paper and I'm gonna kind of slip it in between the sections here because I have different varieties planted close together and I want to make sure I'm getting just my Potomacs here first, and we'll get them labeled separately so I can keep everything separate. So I'm gonna make sure, I'm gonna start with the tallest ones. So I have a set, I know you can't see this, but there's a set of leaves down here, there's a set of leaves here, and I'm gonna snip just above it. Now, some people like to remove some of the foliage when there's no developed roots. It's difficult for the leaves to stay hydrated if there's a lot of foliage and a teeny tiny stem with no roots. So I'm going to stick them all in first, but I'm going to come back and cut some of these with a lot of foliage. I'm gonna get them down in there quite far. And we'll just snip along here. Actually, I only have a block of 20 and they're not all ready to cut. So I'm gonna divide this row. The bottom half is going to be the ones that are dipped in the rooting hormone, and I'll do that for all the varieties. And then that way there should be, you know, if there's a difference, we should be able to see it. So this is why I like this little tube, because I can just dunk my stem in there. There's lots. Oh, that picked up a lot. But anyway. He needs some more soil. There's hairs on the stem and it's picking up a lot of rooting hormone, so I didn't stick that one in nearly as far. You don't need that much. And as much as you can, handle these little cuttings by their leaves more than the stems. Okay, so now I'm gonna clip some of these leaves. And I'm gonna be careful not to get too close to the growth tip here. Okay, before we go any farther, I think I am going to water these guys and give the rest of these cells a little bit of moisture so that this goes smoother for the rest of this. Okay, I've got a lot of Chantilly mixes here, but before I get cutting these guys, I'm gonna get some labels. Okay, I'm just using popsicle sticks. So these are my Potomac lavender. There's my Potomac lavender. Doesn't want to go in there. Good enough. And these are going to be a Chantilly mix. Just get my stick ready before we move. Okay, there's my stick. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna do just one row, and I'm just gonna cut like the 8 tallest, and this will help. They're kind of reaching the lights in the basement on the grow shelf, so this will help buy me a week or two, and then it's going to be time for them to go out. So, and I'm going to do this now to save myself trouble. And I might actually clip that one too. Okay. Okay, so that's my 4 that do not have rooting hormone on them. So now I'll cut some and add the rooting hormone. And I can go ahead and add my stick now. Okay, so that's 2 rows done. I've done my Chantilly mix and my Potomac lavender. I'm gonna get a couple more done, a couple more rows, and then I'll come back and show you what I've done. Okay, this is what I ended up with, guys. We've got a row of the Potomac lavender, the Chantilly mix, the rocket mix, and a butterfly mix. I think most of them are red because I do have some red and bronze seeds. But I just mixed them. I didn't feel like, you know, doing a row of each. And anyway, I just put them all together. I did this last year, not quite this way. And I will take these downstairs and put a humidity dome on them. And that will further help prevent loss of moisture through the leaves until they get some roots established. But you can also just do this in a glass of water. Like I did this in a little shot glass last year. I took these cuttings a couple days ago, so there's no roots left, but they will get quite a root set on them, and then you can do it this way too. So there's some options, and maybe we'll just keep watching, you know, in the water glass versus with rooting hormone and without rooting hormone, and see which seems to establish the best. So I hope you enjoyed this little video, and stay tuned for lots more coming. Thanks for watching.